Okay, I was gonna say, Madam Clerk, you have a full classroom tonight of people to teach the technology to.
Absolutely. Thanks for your patience.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for June 3rd, 2021. The commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. We also have staff in the city attorney and clerk's offices, as well as the city planning department. If you are joining us on Zoom this evening, we can see that you're here. You may be able to observe the meeting. However, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion. If you have a process question during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. If you simply want to watch the meeting this evening, we encourage you to watch this streaming on the city's YouTube channel. You can access it at meridiancity.org/live. And with that, let's begin with roll call.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Wheeler,
Present.
Commissioner Seal.
Here.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Here.
Commissioner Yearsley.
Here.
Commissioner Lorcher. Commissioner McCarville.
Here.
Absent is Commissioner Grove.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. We have several items this evening that will be open only for the sole purpose of continuing. And we'll try to move those to the front of the agenda. Items H-2021-0033 Top Golf request continuance to June 17th. H-2021-0015 Woodcrest Townhomes requests continuance to July 1st. And 2021-0030 Popeyes drive-through request continuance to June 17th. We'll move those to the top of the agenda. So with that, could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have two items on the consent agenda. We have the approval of minutes for the May 20th, 2021 P&Z meeting and findings of fact and conclusions of law for Gem Prep South H-2021-0020. Could I get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. So at this time, I'll briefly explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. The staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and unified development code. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant has finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called on only once during public testimony. The clerk will call the names individually of those who have signed in on our website in advance to testify. You will then be unmuted. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. If you have previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting, it will be displayed on the screen and our clerk will run the presentation. If you have established that you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA where others from that group will not be speaking, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all of those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite others who may wish to testify. If you wish to speak on a topic, you may press raise hand button on the Zoom app. Or if you are listening on the phone, please press *9 and wait for your name to be called. If you're listening on multiple devices, a computer and a phone, for example, please be sure to mute those extra devices so we don't experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you're finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will be muted and no longer have the ability to speak. Please remember, we will not call on you a second time. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant has finished responding to questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing. The commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make final decisions or recommendations to the city council as needed. And we have, I guess I do have a question for legal as a point of procedure. Can we move action items 4, 5, and 7 to the top of the agenda as requested in front of item number 3, or do we want to do item number 3 first?
Madam Chair, with the adoption of the agenda and the mention of moving those up, I interpreted that for you to do them now before you take that action item so that anybody who was here for those items couldn't find the next date for continuance.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. So with that, we will open item H-2021-0033, Top Golf. They are requesting continuance to June 17th. I believe that was a posting issue. Do we have any other comments from staff on that? Okay. Could I get a motion to continue H-2021-0033 to June 17th?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Yearsley.
I move that we continue file number H-2021-0033, Top Golf to June 17th, 2021.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to continue item H-2021-0033, Top Golf to June 17th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for all who wanted to testify on that. We'll see you June 17th. Next item being opened is H-2021-0015, Woodcrest Townhomes. They are requesting a continuance to the meeting July 1st. Do we have any other comments from staff on this application?
Madam Chair, not that I'm aware of, but that's not my project. I don't know if Bill has
Okay.
more comments on that.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Yearsley.
Nothing from staff at this
I
point.
think they were talking about not having a meet. I don't know if we have a quorum identified for July 1st.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. So could I get a motion to continue item H-2021-0015 Woodcrest Townhomes to July 1st?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded to continue item H-2021-0015 Woodcrest Townhomes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, H-2021-0030 Popeyes drive-through is being opened and would like to continue to June 17th. Do we have any other comments from staff?
Madam Chair, only that I put the reasoning at the top of the outline for all of you. Other than that, no other comments.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
Move to continue file number H-2021-0030 Popeyes drive-through to June 17th, 2021.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to move item H-2021-0030 to June 17th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, back to the item number 3. This is resolution number PZ-21-03, which is not open for public testimony, but we have presentation from staff.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the commission, this is Planning and Zoning Resolution 21-03, validating conformity of the Second Amendment to the Meridian Revitalization Plan with the city's comprehensive plan. This is basically a procedural requirement pursuant to Idaho statute, but I will go ahead and provide some context for this item. The original Meridian Revitalization District is due to sunset in 2026. This is the first of several urban renewal actions that will come before you this year. These actions will enable the Meridian Development Corporation, the city's urban renewal agency, to continue its efforts in the downtown core and extend those efforts further north, spurring additional private investment in our downtown. This Second Amendment provides for de-annexation of 2 specific areas within this existing district. The first is a 1.5 acre area identified in your packet as attachment A and referred to as the Idaho block. Ultimately, this area will be annexed into the existing Union District, which was established last year. The second area is a larger 77.1 acre area identified as attachment B in your packet and referred to as the Northern Gateway. These properties, along with several other properties that are not currently in any urban renewal district, will ultimately be included in a proposed new district called the Northern Gateway District. The amendment to the Union District Plan and the urban renewal plan for the Northern Gateway District will come before you later this year. Those will include a more detailed analysis as to the conformity of those plans with the city's comprehensive plan. Because there is no proposed new urban renewal plan, zoning change, or proposed development associated with this particular amendment before you this evening, it is therefore still in compliance with the city's comp plan. Following your action this evening, this plan amendment will move forward to the city council for approval of an ordinance, ultimately adopting the second amendment. As stated, this is a required procedural action. Staff recommends approval of resolution 21-03. And also MDC is represented virtually this evening, as is legal counsel. And they want to add any remarks or clarification or answer any questions you might have.
Madam Clerk, do we have anyone on Zoom wishing to make comments at this time from?
Madam Chair, we do have Megan Conrad on the line. Megan, you have the ability to unmute yourself if you'd like to add a few words.
Thank you, Commissioners. Megan Conrad, Elam and Burt, 251 East Front Street. Thank you so much for having me here today. I think city staff did an excellent job of setting the stage as to what is coming down the pike. Just procedurally, I hope I can fill in a few blanks here. We are this timeline to get these parcels out of the existing what is referred to as the downtown district. And in order to get the value back on the tax rolls really does need to be done by the fourth Monday in July. And there are a number of steps in this process that following your consideration of the resolution here today, there are 3 readings of the ordinance, the 22nd, the 6th, and the 13th of July. And then there's a number of post adoption transmittals that occur after that time. So working against that fourth Monday of July deadline really is critical path to getting those values back on the tax rolls. Second, as city staff indicated, there will be further actions taken with regard to discussion of amending the Union District Plan to add in that what's referred to as the Idaho block, as well as the formation of a new project area, which includes the de-annex parcels that are referred to as the Northern Gateway. So with that, happy to answer any questions or concerns from this body. And again, thank you so much for having me here today.
Thank you, Megan. Any questions for the presenters this evening? Any other discussion you want, or could I get a motion to approve resolution number PZ-21-03?
Madam Chair, just quick, are we recommending approval? We aren't approving, correct?
We are approving, and then it goes further through the process to city council.
We're the deciding body on the DN.
Go ahead.
Madam Chair and members of the commission. In answer to your question, you are not deciding on the annexation. What you're doing is making a finding that the de-annexation is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The memo in your packet and the resolution itself outline that. And then as both Megan and Tori mentioned, there will be city council ordinances that the city council will approve the de-annexation, and within those ordinances, it'll note that this came before you and you passed this resolution and you're finding, as required by the statute, that it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. So you're just a little piece of the big pie. Not to belittle you.
But we can't hold it up.
You could, but we'd really like to see you take action on it this evening.
So we are a pretty big part of the pie. That's the first part. I'll take a stab at this, Madam
Okay,
Chair.
go ahead.
After hearing all staff applicant public testimony, I move to approve resolution number PZ 21-03 as presented in the staff, as presented by staff for the hearing date of June 3rd, 2021.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to, and a second to approve resolution number PZ 21-03. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, in the middle of our agenda here, we will actually open and hear staff report for H-2021-0032, the Meridian Middle School Cafeteria Edition.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Alan Tiefenbach, Associate Planner with City of Meridian. I think this will be relatively brief unless you want me to go on at length. This is a proposal for a conditional use permit. The property is just a little shy of 37 acres. It's zoned R4. It's located on Northwest 8th Street, which is in between Linder and Meridian. To the north is office zone property. East, south, and west are all existing single-family residents. So what this is this is a conditional use permit to allow a 7,500 square foot addition to the Meridian Middle School. Now, real quick history on why we're here. So the Meridian Middle School campus consists of 7 buildings totaling about 186,000 square feet. The first building started in 1969. In February of this year, a representative came in to talk to staff about putting in a 7,500 square foot addition to the north side of the cafeteria building. You can see that here on the site plans that I have put up. This proposed addition, basically, it's going to be a vestibule. It's going to connect the cafeteria to the auditorium in the main classroom building. Some of the things that are going to be included are additional cafeteria space, a new kitchen and IT room, renovations to the choir room, and some restrooms. When we were doing the pre-app, we told the applicant that a public education institution is allowed in the R4 zone district by a conditional use. However, a conditional use has never been done for this school. So this is really to address the as-built conditions and to keep from getting snagged up in the future if the school wants to do any additional improvements. Again, the site plans have been included. That shows what the extent of the improvements are. I put a little bubble there so you can see where it is. There was also a landscape plan that was submitted. There's going to be 2 trees that are removed, but they're going to be putting in 7 trees. Other than that, if you read our code, it says that if you're doing additions less than 25%, there's no additional landscaping that's required. So they're actually putting in a little more landscaping than they're required to. Here are the architectural elevations. What's existing is comprised of CMU, fiber cement, blue metal paneling, and blue standing seam roofs. This is the new addition here, this little piece right here. That's looking from the north to the south. And here is what you would see if you're inside the campus looking towards the north. This here is the addition. The applicant has submitted for a certificate of zoning compliance concurrently with this. So if this conditional use is approved, staff can release the CZC so that the applicant can pull the building permit. The only 2 recommendations that staff had on this one is that Public Works commented that it looks like there's an existing light pole on the school district within one of our sewer easements. The way this could be remedied is that the applicant could move a manhole in the parking lot. We showed the applicant which one it would be, move it slightly to the east and then rededicate that easement. It would pull, basically you'd be reshifting the easement and pulling the light pole out of that. That was the first condition. The second condition is that I could back up and show you. There's a very large parking lot here. Only some of it is striped. What the applicant has showed is 318 parking spaces, but actually what they're required per the code is 483, quite a few more than what they've shown here now. Staff believes a lot of this could be striped. Again, you've got pretty much a blank parking lot. So staff's only other recommendation would be that the school would stripe this parking lot to meet the code. And with that, staff will conclude our presentation unless you have any questions or comments.
Any questions for staff?
Madam Chair.
Yes.
You did say
Commissioner
that
Casey.
with striping that lot, that they would have plenty of parking.
I think the applicant can address that, but I've sort of just ran some guesstimation on there and it looks like they've got plenty of parking that they could actually stripe that in. Again, I'll defer to the applicant if they've actually done the math on that to figure out if that works or not.
Would the applicant like to come forward?
Yes, this is Priya Raman. Lombard
They're
Conrad
online.
Architects. Good evening. This is Priya Raman, Senior Architect with Lombard Conrad Architects. With reference to the parking striping, we will comply with what is required in the staff report for striping the north parking lot. But given that this is a middle school, most of the students are being dropped off and there is a bus drop-off zone as well to the north in that parking lot. Predominantly what that parking, the lot that you see, the asphalt paved area to the north of the building is actually a driver's ed is what I'm aware of. Motorcycle driving education is what it is used for when the school is not in session. But when we read through the report that the staff recommended, we have no problems with restriping that parking lot to the north. As for the actual numbers, I'm not aware that we can meet the 483. I'll have to just go through the striping to figure out if we can meet that or not. But I can assure the commission that there is plenty of parking available on the site for the existing use. And we are not adding any extra student population or trips into the site.
Thank you. Did you have any other presentation?
I don't have anything else to share except for the fact that this is a much needed improvement for the school. This existing facility is severely undersized, both the kitchen footprint and also the seating footprint when compared to the other middle schools. And considering that this kitchen is operational throughout the year, it would be a big benefit to the school community to have this addition approved.
Any questions for the applicant or staff? Okay, seeing none, Madam, oh. Yes, sir.
Alan Tiefenbach. I guess my only comment or question is what's required per the code, good or bad, right? Because I understand that most of the kids are being dropped off there. You're probably not going to have 483 cars there. That said, the code requires what the code requires. My only pause is that if the condition of approval goes forward as it is, it says that they're going to restripe it per the code, meaning they have to come up with 483 parking spaces. If the planning commission wants to decide to tweak the language a little bit to say that the applicant will stripe as many parking spaces as they can and still meet the driver's ed or something, it might give a little more flexibility in the future. Otherwise, staff might have to enforce 483 parking spaces. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify on this application?
Madam Chair, we do not.
Okay. Is there anybody in the room or on Zoom who has not signed up that would like to testify on this application? Okay. With that, could I get a motion to close the public hearing for H-2021-0032?
Madam Chair.
Oh.
Before we do that, I just have a quick question of staff. It's in the condition to meet that many parking spaces. Can we actually, because it looks like it's been working fine the way it is, can we remove that condition all in its, and not require the additional parking spaces? Or is that something that we just by code we have to meet?
This is a conditional use. You can remove that. You can add a requirement that the number of parking spaces that exist now is acceptable.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Seal.
I'll just make a quick comment on there after having my son go to school there, that during when there was assemblies and things like that that we attended, I would have very much appreciated that parking lot being striped. So during school and everything, yeah, absolutely. There's not a lot of need for it, but when there are gatherings there, it gets messy for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Bill.
Go ahead, Bill.
Thank you. Yes, we can certainly, if the applicant can't get up to that number, we can certainly look at something through the alternative compliance process. So if that's the purview of the commission to get as many as possible, but maybe not get to that amount per code, then we can, I would just add a condition, either, work with staff on alternative compliance, obtain alternative compliance for a parking reduction for the school site would be my recommendation.
Work with staff to have as many as reasonably possible.
Yeah, we can do that. Again, we can do that at staff level with their CZC and design review application that Alan's currently processing. We don't charge the school district any fees for application submittals. They would just have to amend their submittal with an alternative compliance if they can't meet that, and we can analyze the parking for the site. I think Alan brings up good points. It's not like it's a high school where you need 1,500 parking stalls because all the kids are driving, but certainly I think more is probably necessary, but I don't know if we're going to get to 400 or not without working with the applicant and them striping it out and letting us know exactly what they can provide on the site. So I think we could amend the condition to say provide 800 or 480 stalls or apply for alternative compliance. Maybe the easiest route to go for you tonight.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Lorcher.
I was a parent there for 6 years as well. And the way the parking lot is now, without the striping, and I respect the fact that when there are assemblies, it can be a little challenging. But because it mostly is a bus terminal of moving hundreds of kids in and out, and the Star group doing their motorcycling, it may, and they may be just a paid client, they may choose to go someplace else if it doesn't work out. I think striping would probably, the reason it wasn't done is because the alternative uses for that parking lot throughout the year, the striping would detract from what they're trying to do. So whether you're a new bus driver and they want to create these lanes or whatever else, the number of assemblies that are done at Meridian Middle in a given year are probably 10 at best, whereas they're in school for hundreds of days.
We can open that up to our discussion after we close the public hearing.
Madam Chair,
Mr. Yearsley.
I moved we close the public hearing on H 2021-0032.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H 2021-0032. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. More
Madam
comments?
Chair,
Mr. Casanelli.
can Star and the others that use that lot, would the striping of stalls interfere with what they're doing? I don't know, Alan, do you have a comment, information on that, or Bill maybe?
It might be a question for the applicant. I think that they certainly could stripe this to get more parking spaces in. I'm not sure if they've actually done the logistics to figure out what they need for the bus turnaround. They just basically have a big unstriped open area. It would be up to the applicant, as Bill talked about with the alternative compliance, because we're processing as CZC right now. So they would have to sort of show us what they need to get the buses in and out. What's the reasonable amount of parking spaces that they could get in there? Maybe explain what the hours are so that they have legitimate parking. I mean, they have tons of parking there. It's just not striped.
Because I've been to events there before where, you show up the parking, it's crazy, especially for somebody that isn't going there regularly and you're trying to, everybody's just kind of all over the place, up on curbs and different things. And I don't know what that's like for the residents along 8th Street there on those days.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, I know it's not my application, but I run through that parking lot quite a lot because I live in the area. The STAR program uses the east side of this parking lot that we're talking about. Striping the west half, I mean, you can literally see the cones when they have them up, would not interfere with them from what I can see.
Yeah, I think if we can maybe move it forward by turning it over to staff and the applicant to work together to stripe it in the best manner possible for bus traffic and additional parking stalls.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Wheeler.
How many additional spaces are needed? Because there are several that are on that east side. So how many, if we can ask staff that?
Well, when you say needed, sir, they, on their site plan, they identified 318 parking spaces. Per their code, they're required to have 483.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Seal.
if I were to motion on this, I would have the wording basically be to work with staff to get as many parking spaces as possible without inhibiting its use as a bus drop-off pickup, as well as ancillary uses such as the STAR class training.
Madam Chair, I think he's also, or we can, or apply for alternative compliance
Okay.
to reduce the overall number of parking spaces. I think that's just amend that to meet the parking requirements or apply for alternative compliance. Be probably just as simple.
Great. Commissioner Seal.
Oh, sorry.
We're all waiting for you. I'm ready to second.
I was gonna let you keep going. Okay, so after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2021-0032 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 3rd, 2021, with the following modification: that they work with staff to stripe the parking lot with as many parking spaces as possible without inhibiting its use for bus pickup, drop off, and STAR classes, training, etc. Or they can apply for alternative compliance to meet the requirement.
There was also that condition on the easement.
I think that's covered in the staff report, correct?
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve H 2021-0032 with modifications. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is H 2021-0023 Gramercy Commons, and we'll begin with the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the commission. Now it's my project. Here we go. The application before you is for a conditional use permit. The site consists of 5.24 acres, zone CG, located at 1873, 1925, and 2069 South Wells Avenue. As you can see on the zoning map and somewhat on the aerial, the north and the east have CG zoning adjacent. To the north of the northernmost lot is existing commercial building. To the east is 3 parcels. 2 of them are developed with commercial uses and 1 of them is undeveloped. To the south is a multi-use pathway, and then further south of that is TNR and R15 zoning districts with I believe there's some attached single family as well as some detached single family in there. To the west is R4 zoning and Mountain View High School. It was originally annexed in 2006 as part of the Kenai subdivision, now known as Gramercy subdivision. It was platted following that, and the applicant has received, as of last Tuesday, development agreement modification approval from City Council for the proposed concept and conceptually for the use of that we're here to discuss tonight. Future land use out here is mixed use regional, as you can see on the map on the left. A rather large area, encompasses a lot of acreage on all four corners of the Eagle and Overland intersection. The applicant tonight is requesting a conditional use permit for a multifamily development consisting of 164 age-restricted units within a multi-story building that is wrapped around a multi-story parking garage on 5.24 acres of land within the CG zoning district. The three parcels that are part of the application actually make up a total of 6.9 acres, but only a segment of parking lay across the shared property line between the northernmost lot and the center lot. The applicant has received city council approval of their concurrent DA mod as noted, which conceptually approved the site plan development and use. The purpose of this application is to ensure compliance with the specific use standards, UDC 11-4-3-27. The subject project is proposed to be constructed in one phase. Access to the site is proposed via 3 adjacent drive aisles. One to the north that currently does not exist until the very north of the property, as noted. These 2 drive aisles to the east as well, and they do exist currently. ACHD has noted that no improvements are required to any adjacent or nearby public roads, and they did not require a TIS, traffic impact study, because the development is not estimated to generate enough peak hour vehicle trips, despite proposing over 100 units. ACHD has noted that all adjacent public roads, which would be East Goldstone Street and South Wells Avenue as the closest ones, are overbuilt for their current capacities and capable of handling additional vehicle trips without issue. Therefore, staff is supportive of the proposed development in regards to its transportation impact. All other departments have also signed off on the proposed development with minimal or no comments, including fire, police, and public works. The site plan depicts a singular, multi-level, age-restricted, which would be 3 and 4 stories in height, multifamily apartment complex that is wrapped around a parking structure, something we do not have here in the city of Meridian. Parking structure is proposed to contain a majority of the required parking spaces. Around the proposed building, the new development plan depicts the drive aisle that circles the entire structure and includes 2 areas of surface level parking located on the east and north sides of the proposed building, and they contain the remaining required parking. The drive aisle that circles the building is intended to be for fire and emergency services access. As noted, the project is proposed as a wrapped concept, where the vast majority of the parking is contained within the parking structure located in the center of the building or of the site, with the apartment units wrapped around it. This design is affectionately known as a Texas donut and allows for a smaller building footprint and more efficient utilization of the development site overall. Based on the number of bedrooms per unit, which there are 108 1-bedroom and 56 2-bedroom units, a minimum of 274 parking spaces should be provided, with at least 164 of those spaces covered or within a garage. The applicant is proposing 291 parking spaces with 220 covered spaces within the parking garage. The remaining 71 spaces are located around the perimeter as noted. The applicant is therefore exceeding the minimum code requirements. I would like to note that they also included guest parking, which is not a current requirement, but a future requirement. So that is part of why they are exceeding their minimum. A minimum of 41,000 square feet of common open space is required per the specific use standards at the ratio of 250 square feet per unit, because each unit is between 500 and 1,200 square feet in size. The applicant has proposed 42,000 square feet of qualified common open space. The proposed open space consists of those areas outlined on the exhibit before you. A plaza along the east side of the building, a pool and pool deck with assorted amenities on the south side, a terrace with fire pits and barbecues and additional seating areas on the west, and a pickleball court and community garden along the north side of the building. All of these areas have been verified by size and use to meet and exceed the required quality and amount of common open space. Overall, the submitted open space meets these specific use standards, and staff finds the proposed open space is adequate for the proposed development, especially when you combine the array of proposed amenities. Furthermore, the subject sites are within a quarter mile of a city park, which is to the south. They're in close proximity to a plaza park that is within the Gramercy development and is a shared park with everybody, and directly adjacent to a regional pathway, which does go across the southern boundary or adjacent to the southern boundary. All of these factors present more than adequate open space and recreational opportunities for future residents. As noted, the proposed open space contains all of the amenities, which to be more specific than what I had before, swimming pool, a plaza with a public art, a sports court, which is the pickleball court, a community garden, and multiple seating areas with barbecues and fire pits. Staff finds the proposed amenities to be adequate in serving the proposed age-restricted multifamily development in conjunction with the additional amenities nearby. The submitted elevations are for conceptual purposes only and will require future administrative design review approval. Staff notes that the submitted elevations do not meet all of the required design criteria for multifamily development, but at the time of the design review submittal, staff will analyze the structure in more detail for the conformance with our architectural standards manual. An application for certificate of zoning compliance is also required to be submitted along with the design review, which will verify, confirm these already discussed development points. There has been no written testimony as of 2 o'clock this afternoon when I wrote this. Staff does recommend approval of the subject application because staff finds that proposing an apartment complex within this area of the city that is in close proximity to commercial development, childcare, charter school, which is directly to the east, and established regional pedestrian facilities warrants the use, as well as is consistent with the mixed-use regional comprehensive plan, future land use designation. After that, I will stand for any questions.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to come forward?
Hi, everybody. Keith Clark, 251 East Front Street in Boise. I'm working with the applicant, and I think Joe's getting my PowerPoint teed up here. As he does, I'll just mention a couple introductory things about this. We are here to discuss a conditional use permit for this, what I think is a really cool apartment project in the Gramercy development. It's part of a two-phased process procedurally. As Joe mentioned, the first phase was a modification to the development agreement that was processed with the city council last week. As we discussed that with them, one of the details that I would mention is that this is on the back side of the Gramercy project, kind of nestled there against the high school and next to other multifamily. And so council agreed that it made sense in this location to change that and allow for a mixed or a multifamily project. So with that in place, this is in the CG zone, so we have to do a conditional use permit. So that's why we get to come here on the hottest night of the year and see everybody in person. Our presentation is going to move forward in two phases. In order to make sure you're familiar with the details a little bit more beyond what Joe has shown tonight, we're going to have Mark Sindel with GGLO Architects, who's online, kind of walk through what was presented last week so you guys can see all of that. And then I'm going to come back and I'll go over a few procedural details. And then it looks like we're still having trouble with the PowerPoint, but, oh, is it? Good. Oh, it's just not on this screen. Got it. So after Mark's done, I'll come back. And then in the meantime, I just want to note that Mike Chittister and Aaron Elton are here. They're with the Meridian based ownership group for this. So this is a truly a local project and a very cool thing for the city. So with that, I'll turn the time over to Mark. It's black. I'll just look over my back shoulder here. Do we have, is Mark coming forward too? Okay.
Mark, you should have the ability to unmute yourself and turn on your camera if you'd like.
Okay, thank you. All right, Madam Chair, Commissioners, thank you. Mark Sindel, Principal with GGLO, 1199 Shoreline Lane in Boise. Next slide, please. Keep going. So this is directly from your comp plan. We always start with that, and I'll just read it. You know your plan well. Multifamily residential may be allowed in some cases, but should be careful to promote a high quality of life through thoughtful site design, connectivity, and amenities. And that's really what the basis of our design was from the beginning. Next slide, please. We also looked at the Gramercy experience and the notion of homes, workplaces, and shopping blending seamlessly into an urban-inspired community. Of course, that's most successful with proximity and walkability, as staff mentioned, and we believe this proposal goes a long way in delivering a truly Gramercy experience. Next slide, please. So the site is situated adjacent to ball fields and a school, walking distance to shops, parks, commercial and health services. And really as a site, it's ideal for age-restricted multifamily housing. If planned wisely and with the right approach that we'll get into in a moment, it can open up opportunities for adjacencies and future development of sites with some efficiencies with the parking. So yes, there you go. You can see all the proximity. Next slide, please. So that brings us to parking. Livability means more space for people and open space, and a recognition that absolutely we need to accommodate cars, but not at the expense of livability. So to that end, we studied the impact of a 4-level wrapped garage, as staff mentioned, and Joe, over a surface parking lot, and what that can mean for livability goals for the district. The punchline is that we're reducing by 2/3 how much of paradise is being paved by a parking lot, for you 70s or 90s rock fans. And the added benefit, of course, is that most residents park on the floor that they live in. This is the nice aspect of a wrap project. So here's what we're proposing. If you go to the next slide, a parking garage, keep going. Parking garage tucked behind a high quality building with large amenity spaces immersed in a beautiful regional landscape. The project faces the district with outward facing plazas and frontages. You can keep clicking. With residential scale frontages and amenities facing the more pastoral ball fields and the high school. Click again. All right, if you go to the next slide, you can start to see the rotation and the plan of the amenities that were mentioned previously with terraces, gardens, and amenities, and then a different approach to the architecture depending on whether it's facing, call it the more pastoral ball fields versus the more commercial district on its frontage. Next slide. So you start to see how this lays out with the garage in the middle, the wrap, and then concentric rings with the gardens and amenity spaces, and then the perimeter parking for access and fire access. Next slide. As was mentioned, we really tried to focus on usable, diverse, larger common amenities so that this would really provide year-round interest and open space for residents. So community gardens, pollinator gardens, pickleball courts, private patios, common areas for with lounges and fire pits, and then the pool area and more of a public-facing plaza on the commercial side, all again immersed with trees for shade in a regionally inspired Treasure Valley landscape. Next. Just a little bit about the architecture. We don't want to get too much into this, but we are being attuned to the district and picking up with the Gramercy brick and materials and providing a mix of a more commercial and a residential feel, providing a little bit of stature and simplicity to the building, given the bridge location that it's in between the high school and the larger fields and the rest of the district. Also just trying to keep it a little bit more simply so we can focus on quality materials and good detailing. Next slide. So elegance is key. Also looking at solar shading and how that all works with climate for human comfort and for a more sustainable, less intensive mechanical approach to the project. Keep going. And there's just a few shots. This is that public facing frontage with entries and with the plaza. Next slide. This is the amenity deck that you see there. Next slide. And then the more residential side with more modulation. Next slide. Elevations, just to give you an idea of the materials and the rhythm of the building. Keep going. More. And again, this will just kind of show you what the intent is, and we'll get into that with Designer View. Thank you very much. Back to Heath.
All right, thanks, Mark. So again, on the process, this did go in front of the council. We're here for a conditional use. Again, it's required in the CG zone. So as we look at the proposal, it's well developed. It's a detailed application. As Joe mentioned, it meets or exceeds all of the applicable standards. A couple more details on that. We are proposing that it remain within the Gramercy development agreements and all of the existing structure there. That'll mean that the exterior parking will be part of the cross parking, cross access regime that exists at Gramercy. So it'll be integrated into that project, and it will be part of the association as well. It's an age-targeted facility, as Mark mentioned. It's very near services. You got right there within walking distance, restaurants, physicians' offices, banks. So it's really ideal for an age-targeted facility. As far as agency review, as Joe mentioned, no negative comments to date, and ACHD has approved it without any improvements to the roadway system. So the question then for us is whether the conditional use permit factors have been satisfied. So we'll just run through those quickly. The site is large enough to meet the proposed use. Again, this is a first for Meridian, but it's a very efficient use of the site that allows for less parking field and makes a lot of sense. The project is harmonious with the Meridian Comprehensive Plan. It's in the mixed use regional designation, which foresees a mixture of residential and commercial uses. And I would just note that within the mixed use regional nodes, there's a minimum of 10% of residential and a maximum of 50% of commercial. And we're a little heavy on commercial on this in this Eagle Overland area. So this will actually help get it closer to the intent of the comprehensive plan. The project's compatible with other uses. Again, you got multifamily right there on the east. You've got the commercial that this is going to take care of, advantage of on the north. It won't adversely affect other properties. As Joe mentioned, we're overparked, and we've got a system where folks are going to be able to come in and go right directly to their units, and then additionally parking on the exterior. It's adequately served by public facilities, and those public facilities will not come at excessive cost. Again, all the agencies have commented and they have indicated no issues. There's no excessive production of traffic, et cetera. None of those apply here. ACHD's approved it, and I'm going fast because I think I might be kicking the dead horse here. And then finally, there are no natural, scenic, or historic features affected. One last item that I just wanted to point out. Joe's been great to work with on this one. We had a condition of approval that's in this staff report that is also in the MDA. And so we, as a result of that, we made a modification to the site plan that you can see on the screen. And that was to create a connection or a physical connection between this project and the regional pathway to the south. So we sent an updated site plan to Joe for the hearing last week. And that's what you're seeing on the screen right now. And we're going to use pavers to help connect and draw people into the regional pathway. So with that, I think I'll wrap up and answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions for staff or the applicant?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Casanelli?
only because we were taking bets whether we'd get out of here in under an hour or not tonight. So I got lots of questions. Actually.
So you had the over is what you're saying?
Exactly. Either for Heath or for staff. Do you know because I didn't fully read all the ACHD comments, are they planning on lighting Wells or Bonita at any time in the future?
Commissioner Casanelli, I believe that it is supposed to be signalized at Wells and Overland, but not Wells and Bonita. I do not know.
I think Bonita's the next one over there coming out of El Dorado.
Further to the
there,
east,
which
yes.
is to the east. Yeah. But at Wells, there's plan to signal that at some point.
At Wells and Overland, yes, especially with some more apartments potentially going in on the north side of Overland.
Where Winco is going to go.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, are these going to be leased, or are they looking to be like townhomes or be sold?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Yearsley, it's intended to stay in common ownership, so they'd be leased.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Wheeler?
I have a couple questions here. On this access that's to the north, let me see that one of the slides there showed an access that was a drive aisle that was going to the north. I just wanted to know if that was actually connecting to the parking lot that was to what would be to the north of there. I think that's like a behavioral health building or behavior parking. area.
We'll try to get the map up.
No
here so
worries.
we can
No
make
worries.
sure
Right
we're all on
there.
the same page.
Yes, that drive aisle there to the north, the access drive, is that actually tying into the property?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wheeler, so it goes by it's built, it goes by the building, but not into the parking lot. So it's an access drive, doesn't connect directly in there.
Okay. So then where does that tie into for an access drive for traffic?
It goes up to the last ring road south of and parallel to Overland.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
from what this site plan kind of cuts it off, but when it's put out on the actual overlay, it connects to the existing drive aisle that's there. It just isn't part of the parking lot. It's like an actual drive aisle, not just the parking. So it'll connect and have the future connect and allow for connectivity in the area.
Okay, all right, I see that here now on Google Maps there, seeing how that does tie into that. And then another question that I have, so thank you on that. Had another question, and that is on that amenities building. So on that same, I think it's on that same slide you guys have there. Yeah, that amenities building to the south, is that going to be for privacy there too? Is it going to be solid, or is it just going to be a little transparent with the screen?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Wheeler, that one is gonna obviously be subject to the design review, but I think we've got a good idea of that. But let me ask Mark to weigh in on that because I think he's got the best idea.
Yeah, Commissioners, Madam Chair, thank you. So yes, the idea is that has quality materials. There's a rendering, I think, that shows it, and we've got vines on the building, planting, opening. So it's a combination of actually frontage to hold the edge a little bit, and for privacy. And then there's going to be bike storage and other things in there. So it should be quite nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Seal.
I like the concept of it, and the parking will not be open to the elements. It'll actually be covered, correct? I think I saw that.
Commissioner Seal, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, and then the only concern I have is the baseball fields. Being a guy that can crank one over the fence every once in a while, that I could hit that building. From
Are you here to brag, or is that a question?
So well, I just that's like that seems really close to me for the amount of people that are going to be in there. So that's just a concern.
Madam Chair, Commissioner Seal, that duly noted, and we'll do some measurements and make sure that that's designed appropriately for that issue.
Please bring him out to hit some balls though, so you can see what the range is, just to clarify that.
Right. My sister can hit them farther than me, but I can knock them out there. So
It's funny that you mentioned that because the first thing I thought about, if this is a age specific building, so I'm assuming it's more seniors, is that correct?
55 and older, yes, ma'am.
And seniors and marching bands and kids in high school and all their noise, I was thinking, oh, is this the best spot for it? Because Mountain View is a pretty lively school throughout the year. I live right by the new Oahe High School, and we're looking forward to hearing the marching band in our backyard, but not everybody appreciates that. So that's
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lorcher, that's actually something that we've talked quite a bit about. This is going to be a site where the people who are going to be attracted to this are going to be attracted to the liveliness of the area, the restaurants nearby, the sound, the excitement. And we think that the folks who are going to be coming here are actually going to really appreciate that element of it. This is a conditional use permit, so we're kind of focused on the outward effects of this project on neighboring properties, not necessarily their effect on us. But we've definitely thought about that. And in fact, the ownership has been to Mountain View to talk to the leadership there about possibilities of our residents coming and volunteering and being engaged. So we think that's actually a selling point for the project.
have to be in their lease that, all marching band music is required.
Any other questions for staff or the applicant? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody signed up to testify on this application?
Madam Chair, we do not.
That being said, is there anyone who did not sign up that would like to testify? Nobody on Zoom? Okay. With that, could I get a motion to close the public hearing on H-2021-0023?
So moved.
It has been moved and seconded to close the public hearing on H-2021-0023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Seal.
I like this idea. I hope it pans out and works as well as what they're hoping for us. I like the idea that it's not only is it a parking garage style, but it's also covered. It's just not something that's you can see from everywhere. So sometimes parking garages aren't the prettiest thing to look at. So plus it adds a small element of security for people that are driving in and out of there. It's a little harder to, for somebody to get in and out of there, I would imagine. But lots of amenities. I think the placement of it is pretty good. I hate to see some of the CG stuff go to multifamily, but I think they're right where that's tucked in back there. I think it'd be a pretty hard sell to get businesses to open back there that are, want more kind of open frontage appeal to them. Only concern, like I said, is the baseball fields. But outside of that, people might enjoy sitting out on their balcony and watching a baseball game or practice as well. So I think it's going to be a pretty good project. I do like the way it ties into some of the other amenities that are there available to it already as well.
I agree.
Madam
All
Chair,
that. Commissioner Wheeler.
cutting somebody off there, or, okay, we're good, good. This is on my jogging path. When I jog right by the spot, go touch Overland and then jog back home. And I was always curious about what was going to be back in this area. And I like the plan. I like it that it's actually hiding up the parking instead of just having a bunch of surface parking on it. That's a good spot. I do think it could, if it had like some rooftop patios on there, you could actually get like a fan club base up there and cheer them on during some of their softball and baseball games that are going on right there. And then it's also squeezed in between two different schools. There's that charter school that's on the hard corner and the school over here, Mountain View, on the other side. But always was curious when I'd run by this, go like, what's going to go in here? And this could be a good benefit for this area. It's surrounded also by other multi-use properties too, townhomes type stuff. And yeah, the drive aisles seem to be good. And if ACHD doesn't seem to have an issue with that, then that's good.
Any other comments? or
Madam
motion?
Chair.
Commissioner Yearsley.
I guess there's only one concern that I have, just the bulk and scale of this building versus what's around it is a little bit big. That being said, I don't think it's enough to cause any concern about it. I think it's set back far enough from the main roads that I think it'll, with other buildings around it, can be obscured a little bit better. Just as a side note, I thought it was interesting. The landscaping plans showed all younger families in an age restricted facility. So I just thought that was kind of funny. So no, I think it's a good project. I think it is a good area, especially where it's a mixed use area. I think that serves a good niche for that area.
Comments? Motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Yearsley.
after considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H-2021-0023 as presented in the staff report for the hearing date of June 3rd, 2021, with no comment, no modifications.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve H-2021-0023. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Madam Chair. I move we adjourn.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we adjourn 8 minutes past
Got the over. We
for
got
the
the over.
official, for the official bets. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. See you all on the 17th, where we'll finish the rest of the agenda.
Very good.
Yeah.